Luke, we got a ton to cover today, so let's just dive right in with SoFi. It's one of your long-term winners. The last time we talked about them, we talked about the hype, the idea of it being kind of one-stop shop banking. You call it the Amazon of finance, with banking and stocks all in one app. I know you love the talent that's there. I know that you use it. And before we kind of get into what's going on with SoFi and fintech as a whole, can you talk a little bit about your perspective as a user of SoFi, divorced from how you look at it from an investment analyst perspective?
Yes. Well, one of the core beliefs of mine from an investment strategy perspective is that you should invest in products and services that you love, because that means you're going to really believe in that investment. A product or service that you love, there's a reason you love it. If you believe the reason you love it is a reason other people are going to love it too, that means more and more people are going to use that product or service, which is going to allow that company to generate more revenues. And if the business model is scalable, is going to allow that company to generate more profits, which will lead to a higher stock price. So it's generally a good rule of thumb to, if you love the product or service that you're using, buy the stock behind that product or service. So from my perspective, the journey I've had as a SoFi user runs parallel to the journey I've had as someone who's a huge advocate of SoFi stock. In a nutshell, the thesis is consumer banking sucks. Wells Fargo, Bank of America, whatever you use, consumer banking these days sucks. It was built in the 1900s by folks that don't understand technology. It's not digitally native. It's not tailored to the modern consumer. It's not mobile friendly. They're trying. Yes, they're trying, but they're bankers. They're not engineers, and they're not acquiring the talent necessary to build digitally native, 21st century modern banking, consumer banking solutions for folks like you and me, Aaron, who grew up on mobile applications, social media. We need something different. We want something different. That something different is SoFi. SoFi is a digitally native, all-in-one, mobile-centric, mobile-first finance application where you can store your money, where you can trade stocks, where you can buy cryptos, where you can earn yields in cryptos, where you have a credit card, where you can get loans, where you can set up, they call it relays, where you can set up spending plans and budgets. You can do all this in one app. It's so intuitive. It's so friendly. It's so nice. It's easy to use. Their point system is totally transparent. It's totally understandable and digestible. Their auto pay features are seamless and easy. It is literally everything that's wrong with whatever consumer banking application you're using today. SoFi has fixed it. And they didn't fix it because they got lucky. They fixed it because they built a company from the ground up that is tech first, with software engineers, with people that built Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. It is a bunch of social media engineers here that came together and decided, let's make a social finance application. SoFi, short for social finance, for those of you who didn't know. So this is really a social finance application. We see it as the future of banking. We see it as the Amazon of finance. This is going to be a huge, huge company one day. We're talking 20, 30, 40 million users. And we think that this stock is going to be one of the biggest winners of the 2020s. Pounding on the table, totally bullish on the stock. Absolutely love it.
So what would you say to somebody who, has their own bank, has an app that they're intuitive, they know how to get to their accounts, they know how to transfer money. Again, it may not offer all of the things that you're talking about, but maybe they're not into investing in the stock market and buying cryptocurrencies. What's the driving force between making a switch from a traditional banking app to SoFi?
There's a few things. For me, it's really just the mobile friendliness of their application of the platform. It's all digitally native and it's all mobile. So I go on, it's so easy with their applications. And I know Bank of America has an app and all that stuff, la-di-da-la-di-do. But the SoFi app is just so easy to just log into. It's got the Face ID. It has all your applications just across the board. It's so easy to use on a phone, and that's what made it for me the my favorite banking application. I didn't go with SoFi all at once in the beginning. I was kind of like splitting across multiple bank accounts and testing out various different things. And the more I use SoFi, the more I realize this is so easy to access from my phone, which is where I do everything these days. Whereas the other apps, the other banking apps were quite honestly pretty crappy. And that's not a shock because they're not built by a bunch of really talented software engineers who built social media companies. They're built by bankers. And bankers who then hire software engineers and are directed by the bankers. So it's built like a banking application, whereas SoFi is built like a social media app. And what do you like to use more? What do you spend more of your time on every single day? TikTok or Wells Fargo, right? You spend more time on TikTok, spend more time on Twitter, on Instagram. This feels like that. It's almost that addicting of an interface. It's got the education. The education is a huge component for people that I've recommended this to. They have this whole thing of they're filling this file of educational content, teaching you how to invest in cryptos. What are cryptos? What is staking? What are yields? What are dividends? How does stock trading work? What do taxes look like on stocks? These are questions that everybody has, but a lot of people are afraid to ask. They don't want to sound dumb. Well, SoFi doesn't force you to ask. You just have to go onto the app and you can read all this information and get smart, get money smart, get your money right. And so I really like that aspect of it for a lot of folks. I think that's really cool. And then they do have some great, 1% APY. They have 2% cash back on the credit card. So, I mean, there's a lot of good perks that are part of the program as well. And when you put it all together in just one application, all of these things, there's nothing else in the world that's quite like it. And I think that's why a lot of people are going to gravitate towards it. Again, we say Amazon of finance. Why do people go to Amazon? You could buy anything on this one website. It wasn't like Chewy or Wayfair or whatever. It was all in one. Whatever you wanted, you could go to Amazon and buy it. Whatever your money needs are, you can go to SoFi and get that money needs served. Whether it's trading stocks, trading cryptos, earning 1% APY, getting a 2% cashback credit card, having an on-demand credit card or a debit card, whatever it may be, you can go to SoFi and get that in one single mobile application. The sign-up process is super easy. So from beginning to end, I've had no problems with the platform, and that is very, very rare for a banking application, as you probably know. And people hate consumer banking applications these days. And actually, one of my analysts just sent over a survey that was conducted, I think, within the past few weeks, and it shows that something like 26% of Gen Z and millennial consumers would switch their consumer banks to another consumer bank with a better mobile application. So it's not just that is saying, hey, mobile-centric, mobile-friendly is super important. Surveys are corroborating. This is a sentiment that is universally true. And SoFi dominates mobile-centric. SoFi dominates mobile-friendly. They're going to win a lot of consumers that way. And that scale is going to allow them to offer even better perks and better features down the road. So we are super bullish on the stock long term.
So when you call it the Amazon of fintech, and we look at what Amazon did in the consumer market, it's dominating. It's the one stop for everything. We use Amazon every day. Is SoFi going to end up being that one-stop shop where it takes over and there's no more Robinhood, there's no more Coinbase, everybody's just going to SoFi? Or are there going to be other challengers to dethrone SoFi?
We think the market that SoFi is going after is hyper competitive. Make no mistake about it. You have so many different mobile-friendly finance apps, digital finance apps that are trying to do what SoFi is doing, but no one is doing it at the level SoFi is doing it because, one, SoFi has the best leadership from their CEO, their whole board, the entire C-suite, super experienced people. That's a combination of Wall Street veterans and technology gurus put together. It is a dream team up there. Then you have the employee base, which is, again, as we said before, a bunch of software engineers from these social media companies. So they have the best team in place. You know from our previous podcast that we are huge believers in the team. SoFi's team is unrivaled in the digital finance space, in the fintech space, trying to do what they're doing. Second is the amount of resources they have raised and the resources they have at their disposal. They've raised a ton of capital. They're deploying all that capital. They have the bank charters, right? They have all the pieces in place to actually become what they want to be, which is the new Bank of America. And as other competitors in the space do not have those resources or assets just yet. And while they might get them one day in the future, at that point in time, SoFi will have 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 million users. And it'll be such a long lead for SoFi. Competitors are going to have trouble playing catch up. And then the third thing we really like about SoFi relative to the other competitors in the space is that their application is, again, very, very, very strong. We've tried the other applications. There are things that are either the app bugs out or the credit card doesn't arrive on time or there's a payment error. We've tried the other ones and there's always errors that come up. With SoFi, in my experience, in my analyst team's experience of the people we've recommended, our entire circle that is trying SoFi, no one has had any problems with this from beginning to end. And so because of that flawless experience, that's something no one else has really mastered. And that's why we think SoFi continues to crush it in the market. Now, for what it's worth, something I do want to add here is we've talked a lot about insider buying over the past few weeks, right? This huge insider buying surge we're seeing in hypergrowth tech stocks. And that has coincided with, unshockingly, a massive rally in hypergrowth tech stocks over the past few weeks. The biggest insider buying that we've noticed, the most notable insider buying we've noticed, is in SoFi. The CEO, Anthony Noto, who's the former CFO of Twitter, he is buying shares left and right, hand over fist. Board members are joining him. Other C-suite members are joining him. There's a lot of insider buying going on at SoFi. That's a very bullish sign. We want to line ourselves up with those people. We think that they're going to make a lot of money in the long terms. By lining up with them, we think we will too. So hugely bullish on SoFi. I love what's going on there. Think the stock is bottoming out, ready to rebound. Some folks are worried about the student loan moratorium, but that is such a near-term silly concern because, yes, SoFi built its business on the back of student loans, but that's like saying Amazon built its business on the back of selling books. They did, but books are what? Maybe 0.1% of Amazon's business today, 0.01%, if that, right? It's an afterthought. In 10 years, the student loan business is going to be an afterthought for SoFi. They used it as their hero product to get into the market, to win brand notoriety, to win market share. It's been great. Now it's kind of struggling because of some political stuff. Okay, let it struggle. SoFi doesn't care. SoFi doesn't care because that business was just to get here. It's not what's going to drive them to the next level. That is the consumer banking. That is the stock trading. That is the crypto stuff. That's the stuff that's going to get them to the next level. That's the stuff they're knocking out of the ballpark right now. And that's why, despite that student loan moratorium being extended, the insiders are buying today because they don't care about what has happened. They care about what will happen. People who are focused on the student loan moratorium are backward looking. That is not the way to be with this company. Got to look forward, and looking forward, there's a really bright future with SoFi. SoFi stock below $10 may be one of the best stocks to buy ever in the history of the stock market. I'll pound the table on that.
Well, with the concept of looking forward, how are legacy banks doing right now to look forward through this transition? Are they, trying to put that infrastructure in place where they have a better user experience in their apps, or are they just kind of doing their thing day to day and saying, oh, this is just another trend, we'll be fine, we'll weather the storm because we've been around forever?
Yeah, no, I think they're definitely taking both approaches. It's a split. It used to be this, like, we're not going to bend to tech. Like, we are banks. We're not a tech company. Then they started losing a lot of talent to Silicon Valley. So Wall Street started to bend and be like, we need to hire more software engineers. We need to digitize. We need to make ourselves have a bigger tech focus. A lot of big banks are making those investments. But at the end of the day, they're not going to be as successful as the tech startups because you're graduating Stanford, you're graduating Caltech, you're graduating MIT. You are a coder, you're a software engineer, you're a programmer. Do you want to go and work on Wall Street, this kind of embedded incumbent where you're going to make good money and maybe get some shares? Or do you want to go and work for something like SoFi, where your starting salary might not be as big, but you're going to get a lot of shares. Those shares are going to grow in value over time, and you're going to have a chance to really make a ton of money. Like your upside potential is way bigger on the SoFi route than it is on a Goldman Sachs route. And so from that perspective, I think that a lot of the top talent that's coming out of these great schools, a lot of the engineering talent is flowing into the SoFis of the world and not into Wall Street. And it's a huge problem with Wall Street. They're having a lot of problem attracting and acquiring that talent. But because of that, that's why I think that the SoFis of the world continue to build better products that more consumers use than what the JP Morgans, Bank of Americas, and Wells Fargo's build going forward. And that's especially true for the Bank of Americas and Wells Fargo's because Goldman, JP Morgan, they kind of have this this exclusive luxury allure. Wells Fargo and Bank of America don't really. And so they're actually fighting an even steeper uphill battle than the rest of Wall Street. And those are the direct competitors of SoFi. So SoFi is for sure beating its direct competitors, direct legacy banking competitors, when it comes to acquiring talent and getting that talent to build good products. So we really do believe that there's a lot of disruption about to unfold in this space, and that in 5 years, the big banks will not be the big banks that they are today. And there's going to be a changing of the guard, and SoFi is going to be the one that takes the leadership role in this market.
Thanks for watching HGI Clips. For the full episode, head on over to our sister channel at Hypergrowth Investing by clicking the link in the description or listen to the podcast on any of your favorite streaming platforms. We make new episodes every Wednesday, so make sure to check it out and subscribe to never miss any of Luke's Hypergrowth insights.